What if a single moment could change everything? What if a simple laugh, a thoughtless joke, could alter the course of someone's life forever? A young woman casually laughing with her friends makes a joke at the expense of a waiter. She doesn't think much of it. After all, she's just having fun. But the waiter, a black man, feels something deeper. A hurt that many don't understand, a sting that has been with him his whole life, one that this moment only intensifies. The woman has no idea that her actions are about to lead her to a surprising encounter, one that will force her to confront not just what she did, but who she truly is. She laughs at him, but little does she know this moment will soon lead her to face a truth she wasn't ready for. Meet Emily, a 23-year-old marketing intern who's just starting her career. She's lively, confident, and spends most of her time either working or hanging out with friends. Tonight, she's out at a trendy new restaurant with a few colleagues after a long day at the office. To Emily, this is just another night of laughter and casual conversation. She's always been the center of attention, quick to make a joke or lighten the mood with her friends. Emily represents a kind of youthful innocence, unaware of the impact her words and actions might have on others. Her friends laugh along with her, as they always do. But Emily doesn't give much thought to who's watching. To her, it's all in good fun, a way to bond and make the night more memorable. She's someone who doesn't often consider the deeper implications of what's said or done in passing. But tonight will be different, even if she doesn't realize it yet. Then there's Michael. He's 28, a seasoned waiter who's been working at the restaurant for a few years. Unlike Emily, Michael has seen it all: subtle racism, ignorance, and stereotypes. He's used to people looking at him differently, judging him based on his appearance before they even hear his voice. But Michael's worked hard to build a calm exterior, an armor that protects him from the weight of prejudice. His politeness is his shield, his professionalism, his strength. Tonight, like every other night, he's focused on his work. He takes orders, delivers food, and moves through the crowded restaurant with grace. But beneath that calm surface is a man who's been quietly bearing the weight of his race in a world that often judges him unfairly. While he's learned to keep his emotions in check, moments like tonight still sting. He tries to ignore them, but there's always a part of him that can't fully escape the hurt. The restaurant itself is a popular downtown spot, the kind of place where young professionals come to unwind after work. The atmosphere is warm, with dim lighting and sleek, modern decor. The sound of soft jazz plays in the background, and the clinking of glasses and laughter fills the air. It's the kind of place that gives off an air of sophistication, yet it's laid back enough to feel comfortable. Emily and her friends are seated at a high-top table near the bar. They're laughing, chatting, and sipping on cocktails as the waitstaff moves quickly between the tables. Michael approaches their table with a friendly smile, his demeanor professional and respectful. He's here to serve, to do his job, but tonight something will shift. As he interacts with Emily and her friends, the moment that seems trivial at first will set off a chain reaction that none of them saw coming. It starts like any other moment in the bustling restaurant. Michael, the waiter, approaches Emily's table with a menu in hand. The group is chatting, enjoying the evening, when he leans in to take their drink orders. He's professional, polite, smiling as he makes eye contact with each guest. Emily, with her usual carefree attitude, says something to her friends that prompts Michael to lean in just a little closer. Maybe it's the way he describes the wine special, or perhaps she notices his accent when he speaks. In any case, Emily laughs, a sharp, high-pitched laugh that cuts through the conversation like a knife. At first it seems harmless, a laugh, nothing more, but there's a hint of mockery in it. The kind of laugh that isn't just about finding something funny. It's the kind of laugh that feels like it's directed at someone. Her friends join in, following her lead. Michael stands there, slightly taken aback, unsure if he should react or just move on. She hadn't meant it maliciously. To Emily, it was a simple joke, an innocent moment. She doesn't even think about the weight it might carry for him. It's just a laugh. But for Michael, it's more than that. It hits differently. He's heard this kind of laughter before, the laughter of someone who doesn't take him seriously, who doesn't recognize his humanity beyond his job. It's an all-too-familiar sting, one that he's learned to ignore over the years, but it's still there. Michael doesn't show his discomfort. His face remains composed, professional. He finishes taking the order and walks away, moving through the room with the same quiet grace he's perfected. On the outside, it looks like he's unaffected. But deep down, there's a mix of hurt, frustration, and exhaustion building up. He's had his fair share of moments like this, where people laugh at him or say something offhandedly that cuts deep. He's learned to keep his feelings hidden, to keep his professional demeanor intact. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It always hurts. Every time. As he walks back to the kitchen, his thoughts swirl. Why does this happen? Why do they think it's okay to laugh at me like that? He's used to brushing it off, but tonight, for some reason, it feels different. It lingers. But he knows better than to let anyone see how much it stings. For the audience, this moment should feel uneasy, like a lingering tension in the air. There's something unsettling about the laugh, something that doesn't quite sit right. It's not just a harmless joke. There's an undercurrent of discomfort that builds slowly but surely. The viewers will feel Michael's pain even though he doesn't show it. They'll sense the difference between Emily's lightheartedness and Michael's quiet hurt. It's a subtle emotional shift that will make the audience pay attention to what comes next. The laugh, while seemingly small, has made an impact. Emily spends the rest of the evening laughing with her friends, the incident at the restaurant fading into the background. But as the night winds down and she heads home, she feels a slight discomfort gnawing at her, something she can't quite place. It's not the usual post-night out tiredness. There's a sense of unease, a feeling that something didn't sit right. Later that night, as she lies in bed, replaying the events of the evening, the image of Michael's face flashes in her mind. She can still picture the way he stood there, still and composed, taking their orders with a professional smile. But there was something in his eyes, something behind that smile she hadn't noticed before. She couldn't put her finger on it, but it was there. Her mind replays the moment, the laughter, her friends' reactions, and the brief look Michael gave before walking away. Emily begins to question whether that laugh, that innocent joke, was really as harmless as she thought. Did I cross a line? She wonders. Was it just a joke, or did I make him feel smaller than he already might feel every day? The discomfort grows over the next few days. Every time she thinks back to the restaurant, she feels a wave of guilt. It's subtle but persistent. Emily tells herself it was just a laugh, just part of the night. But deep down, she knows it was more than that. It wasn't just a joke, she admits to herself. It wasn't just about the wine or his accent or whatever I thought was funny in that moment. Her friends don't seem to notice anything out of the ordinary, and when Emily tries to bring it up, she brushes it off as if it were nothing. But the guilt is heavy on her mind. She starts to feel confused. Was it racist? Could it have been seen that way? She's always prided herself on being open-minded, on being a good person, someone who treats others with respect. But now she's questioning herself. The thought of unintentionally hurting someone, especially over something like race, fills her with anxiety. She replays the laughter in her head again, analyzing every moment of it. Did I laugh because I thought he was different? Or was it just an innocent, stupid mistake, she wonders. But as she thinks about it more, she can't ignore the nagging feeling that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't so innocent after all. It hits her one evening while she's watching a documentary about racism. The stories of discrimination, the hurt in people's voices, it all suddenly comes rushing back to her. That's when it clicks. What if my laugh, the way I treated him, was part of the problem? What if I, without even thinking, hurt him in a way I can't even begin to understand? Emily realizes that what she had brushed off as a harmless moment was, in fact, a microaggression. It wasn't just a laugh. It was a reflection of something deeper, the casual racism that people often ignore or justify. I didn't mean to hurt him, she thinks, but the guilt lingers. I didn't even realize I was doing it. But that doesn't make it okay. She feels the weight of her actions now. What seemed like a fleeting, insignificant moment has turned into something much larger. She starts to feel remorse, not just for laughing, but for not considering the impact of her behavior on others. How do I fix this? She wonders. She knows that saying sorry isn't enough, but she doesn't know where to start. How do you apologize for something you didn't even recognize at first? But one thing is clear. Emily knows she has to do better. She has to confront her own biases, her blind spots. This moment has become a catalyst for change, even though she doesn't fully understand yet what it all means. Michael has faced racism his entire life. Whether it's subtle glances, comments under the breath, or people assuming things about him because of his skin color, he's learned to carry it silently. As a black man, he's constantly aware of how others perceive him, often before they even speak. But through it all, Michael has built a solid wall around his emotions. He knows how to navigate this world, how to stay polite, and how to keep his head down when it seems easier to just let things go. However, tonight's incident at the restaurant leaves a mark on him. The laughter from Emily and her friends may have seemed like just a fleeting moment to them, but to Michael it feels like a reminder of everything he's worked hard to hide. It's not the first time something like this has happened, but for some reason, this time it stings just a little more. As he walks away from the table, he feels that familiar knot in his stomach, the one he's learned to live with over the years. He resists the urge to let the frustration show on his face. He could feel the eyes of the other customers as he passed, and he could already imagine what they were thinking. But despite it all, Michael doesn't let it take control. He knows how to compartmentalize, how to push the hurt aside, because it's just another part of his reality. But even though he doesn't let the hurt show outwardly, it stays with him. It lingers like a shadow clouding his thoughts. That laugh, the casualness of it, felt more like a reminder of the invisible barriers he faces each day. But he doesn't dwell on it for long. He knows better than to let someone else's actions define his worth. Michael could have easily let the incident fester inside him. He could have let bitterness consume him, or worse, allowed it to affect his work. He's seen people snap, seen people lose themselves in anger over similar moments. But that's not the man Michael wants to be. He's learned that staying angry only lets the negativity grow. He refuses to give Emily or anyone else that kind of power over his peace of mind. Instead of reacting with bitterness or resentment, he chooses to rise above it. He can't change the fact that Emily's laughter was inappropriate, but he can control how he responds to it. "I'm not going to let her ignorance ruin my night," he tells himself as he heads back to the kitchen. "I'm better than that." Michael refuses to let the hurt define him, even when it feels overwhelming. He decides that if he can't change others, at least he can change his own reaction. He focuses on doing his job with integrity, keeping his professional demeanor intact. The hurt will be there, but it won't control him. His worth is not determined by how others see him. It's determined by how he sees himself. As the days pass, Michael starts to notice a shift within himself. That incident, though painful, has planted a seed of growth. He begins to recognize the strength it takes to face the world every day, knowing that he might be judged before he even speaks. But he realizes that this struggle doesn't define him, it refines him. He doesn't have to be a victim to the racism he faces. Instead, he chooses to see himself as a person of strength, someone who, despite everything, continues to show up and do his best. Each day, Michael becomes more aware of his own resilience. He carries himself with more confidence, not because he is trying to prove something to others, but because he knows that his worth is not up for debate. His smile is no longer just a shield, it's a symbol of the strength he's built over time. Michael realizes that by refusing to let others' ignorance affect him, he's reclaiming his power. He is no longer defined by their perceptions, but by his own inner strength. In the quiet moments, Michael reflects on his journey. The laughter, the casual racism, and the hurt, it all serves as a reminder of the resilience he's built. He doesn't let those moments break him. Instead, he lets them fuel his growth, strengthening his resolve to rise above the hate and keep pushing forward. A few weeks pass and Emily finds herself back at the same restaurant. She's out with a different group of friends this time, but the moment she steps inside, she recognizes the place instantly. The atmosphere is just as lively, the ambient music still playing softly in the background. But today, there's a different weight to the air, something Emily can't quite put her finger on. As she's seated at her table, Emily's heart begins to race when she notices Michael, the same waiter from her last visit. She's surprised to see him again, but there's no mistaking his face. This time, she's prepared for the awkwardness she feels bubbling up inside her. What if he remembers me? What if he's still upset? The thought of facing him again, knowing what she had done, makes her stomach churn. She tries to shake off the unease, but it lingers. Michael, for his part, doesn't seem surprised to see her. He walks to the table with a calm, confident air, his uniform crisp and neat. His demeanor is different from the last time she saw him. He no longer seems like the quiet, reserved man who kept his emotions hidden. There's something about him now, a sense of self-assurance that wasn't there before. Emily feels the weight of the tension as Michael approaches the table. It's as if the entire room has quieted, and all she can hear is the soft thud of her heart beating in her chest. The brief exchange of pleasantries feels more like an effort than it should be. She can't help but wonder, does he remember me? Does he know who I am? Michael makes eye contact with her for a second, his expression neutral. He smiles, but it's not the same smile from the first time they met. This smile is calm, controlled. He's no longer the man who tried to hide his hurt behind a mask of professionalism. There's something different in the way he carries himself now, stronger, more at peace. The tension is palpable. Emily feels it. He feels it too, though he's doing a much better job of masking it. Emily can't ignore the pang of guilt that rises up again. She had spent so much time reflecting on that night, questioning her actions, and now here she is, face to face with the person she had hurt. What do I do? What do I say? Her mind is racing, but the words just won't come. She wants to apologize, to make it right, but she isn't sure how to begin. After a few moments of silence, Michael breaks the tension first. His voice is steady, confident. "What can I get you today?" he asks, his tone polite but distant. Emily hesitates, caught off guard by how smoothly he's handling the situation. It's almost as if nothing happened, but she knows that's not true. Does he want me to acknowledge it? She wonders. Does he even care anymore? Her friends start ordering their drinks, but Emily is stuck in her own head. She can't bring herself to simply let this moment pass. She feels the need to make it right, but she doesn't know if she's ready to say the words aloud. She tries to muster the courage, but before she can, Michael speaks again. "You don't have to apologize," he says, his eyes meeting hers with an understanding that surprises her. His voice is calm, but there's a hint of something deeper, something she hadn't expected. "I'm fine, really." Emily looks at him, taken aback. He doesn't seem angry, doesn't seem like he's holding a grudge. In fact, he seems fine, more than fine. He's comfortable in his own skin now, unbothered by the things that used to bring him down. His words make her realize how much he's changed in the short time since their last meeting. "I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable," Emily says, her voice quiet but sincere. "I've been thinking about what happened last time, and I realize I was wrong. I just wanted you to know that." Michael nods slowly, and for the first time, Emily sees the genuine warmth in his eyes. "I appreciate that," he says simply. "But I'm okay, really." The moment is brief, but it's enough. The emotional shift between them is subtle but undeniable. Emily realizes that this is a turning point, not just for her, but for Michael too. He's no longer defined by the hurt others try to inflict on him. And she's no longer the person she was that night, laughing thoughtlessly without understanding the impact of her actions. The tension that had once clouded the air begins to lift. Emily feels a sense of relief wash over her. It's not a perfect resolution, but it's a step forward. For the first time, both of them seem to understand each other, even without saying much. Emily takes a deep breath, her fingers trembling slightly as she places her glass down on the table. The weight of the apology has been sitting on her chest ever since she walked into the restaurant. But now, with the opportunity in front of her, it feels harder than she imagined. She knows she can't just let this moment pass without acknowledging the hurt she caused. "I'm really sorry," she says, her voice quieter than before. The words feel heavier than she anticipated, but there's a clarity in them now. This isn't just about saying the right thing. It's about genuinely understanding the impact of her actions. Michael looks at her, his expression calm, but something in his eyes shifts. He doesn't interrupt her. He lets her speak, and for that, Emily is grateful. She continues, feeling the sincerity of her own words as they come out. "I didn't realize it at the time, but I hurt you. I laughed, and it was wrong. I'm so sorry for making you feel less than what you are. I've thought about it so much since then, and I can't take it back, but I just wanted to let you know how truly sorry I am." The vulnerability in her voice is raw, and for a moment, the room feels still. It's not just an apology for the sake of clearing her conscience. It's an apology rooted in her genuine desire to do better. She wants him to know that she's learned something from this encounter, something that's shifted her perspective. She's no longer the person who thought laughter was harmless. She's now someone who understands that words and actions can carry weight even when they seem trivial. Michael listens quietly, his gaze steady. There's no immediate rush to respond. He doesn't jump in to offer forgiveness or rush to make her feel better. Instead, he takes a moment to acknowledge her apology, not as a sign of weakness, but as a recognition of growth. He doesn't need her forgiveness to heal, but the sincerity of her words isn't lost on him. "I appreciate that," he says simply, his tone measured. "It takes a lot to admit when we've been wrong." But he doesn't need to say more than that. The silence that follows isn't awkward. It's peaceful, as if both of them are coming to a quiet understanding. Michael knows that his value doesn't depend on her apology or validation. He's already found strength in himself, and her apology, while meaningful, isn't what defines him. He's moved beyond needing others to make up for their mistakes. His confidence comes from within, from the growth he's experienced on his own journey. "I don't expect anything," Michael continues, meeting her gaze firmly. "But I'm glad you said it." There's no bitterness in his voice, no anger, just calm acknowledgement. He has nothing to prove to her, and he knows that. In this moment, Michael has found peace, not in the apology, but in his own resilience. The tension between them lifts, but not because of some magical reconciliation. Instead, both characters have grown in their own way. For Emily, the lesson has been clear and powerful. Racism isn't something to dismiss with a laugh or an ignorant comment. It's something that can deeply affect others, something that deserves respect and thoughtfulness. She now understands that acknowledging the hurt she caused isn't just about making herself feel better. It's about respecting the dignity of others. For Michael, the journey has been one of self-discovery and strength. He's come to realize that no matter what others think or do, his worth doesn't lie in their opinions or validation. He doesn't need anyone's forgiveness to know who he is and what he stands for. His confidence is rooted in his ability to rise above the negativity, to see himself as more than a victim, and to build strength from the challenges he faces. By the end of this encounter, both characters are different. Emily has learned the value of empathy, and Michael has learned that his strength is not dependent on others' actions, but on his ability to maintain his dignity, no matter what. The moment they share is a turning point for both, as they leave the table, each with a deeper understanding of themselves and of each other. As the evening comes to an end, Emily and Michael share a quiet, respectful moment before she leaves the restaurant. There's no grand resolution, no perfect ending, but there is a sense of peace. They've both grown, each in their own way. The experience hasn't solved the world's problems, but it's shifted their perspectives and made them better people. It's proof that change is possible, even in the smallest of moments. While racism and prejudice still exist in the world, the story of Emily and Michael shows us that individuals have the power to change. It's not about waiting for others to change the world for us. It's about taking responsibility for our actions, learning from our mistakes, and striving to be better each day. Both Emily and Michael are no longer defined by the past. They are walking forward with a deeper understanding, a clearer sense of self, and the knowledge that change starts within. The story may have started with a moment of hurt, but it ends with the potential for growth and change. It only takes one moment to change your perspective, one act of self-reflection to make the world a little better. Each of us has the ability to build a future based on respect, understanding, and empathy. The question is, will we choose to make that change?